Hi, my name is Heather, and today I'm going to show you how to add text to your design in Affinity Designer to create an SVG to bring into Cricut Design Space. So the first thing that I want to do is I'm just going to create a copy of this file that I have here with this little pterodactyl baby. So I'm just going to do duplicate. That way, just so I have the original in case I do anything to it. And the first thing for creating text is just to type out the text. So I'm going to go to this tool right here, which is Artistic Text Tool. And I'm going to click Art Text. And then I'm just going to, however big I want the text to be, that's how big I'll drag it. I'm going to click this little keyboard here and type something out. How about totally cute? Okay. And then I want to first just change the font. So I'm going to go on the right side here and click this little A, and that's going to be all of my text options. So I'm going to pick a different font here, and I'm going to do this Almond Nougat. I really love that font. It's so cute. And I can also change the spacing between the lines and between the letters. So I'm going to go to Character and then Positioning. And then I can change the tracking. So I can make them wider or I can make them closer. And then I'm going to do the leading here. So I'm going to bring them a lot closer together. And then I'll just close that out. And I'm going to move this maybe like that. So I'll move my little pterodactyl over. So now that we have our text here, I can go into my layers palette. And you can see right here that this is the actual text and it says totally cute. And we want the text, instead of being text, we want it to be outlines, like shapes. So I'm going to click these three dots and I'm going to do convert to curves. And now if I go to my layers palette, it's a group and you can click the little arrow and then you can see all these little things that says curve, 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 curve. So these are all separate shapes. And if we zoom in, and then I can click my node tool, and you can see all these little nodes here. This is really neat because now we can select, say we can select some of these points, which by the way, it's really hard to do when this is all grouped together. So let's go to the layers palette and we have the group selected. Click these three dots and ungroup. So now we have all of these separate little things that we can manipulate. This is Heather from the future, and I just wanted to say that I'm about to show you some really fun creative things you can do with the text to make it look more interesting. But if you are happy with the text how it is now and you just want to export it like that, then you can just select all the text, click the three dots at the top of the screen and click add so that it all becomes one object, and then you can just export as an SVG. But that step is actually going to be further on in the video after I show you all the creative stuff. But just in case you want to skip that, I just wanted to let you know. Or you could also just fast forward to that part too. All right, back to the video. So now we can grab some of these nodes, and if they don't grab them, if you're trying to grab a bunch of them and it doesn't work, just zoom in and then it'll work. And then I can say pull these up if I want to make that T taller. You can also grab your move tool and then do kind of bouncy text if you want to move this down a little bit. Maybe move this up, or we can grab the top of this guy, move him up, and maybe grab this guy and move him up to here. That's kind of cool. And then maybe grab the A and we can like kind of put it in that little, like a little closer to that little space there. Oh, and then maybe the L, we can like pull one part higher. Actually, I think maybe the first one could be higher. That would be kind of cool. So that's one thing that we can do. Another thing you can do is use the brush tool to add some cool little embellishments. So I'm going to grab my brush tool here, and then I always like to change the controller to pressure. That way it'll go harder when you go harder with the brush. This isn't drawing because stroke is empty. So let's click stroke and make it black. Oops. And then now we can draw, and the harder we press, the thicker it'll be. But I want it to be about as thick as the text that we have here. So let's go to width and increase it a bit. That's better. So now some things that I like to do are connecting some of the text. So for example, I would like to take the T and connect it to the O. And don't worry too much about like these little lumps and things because we'll be able to fix those very easily later. And then maybe I'll go like that. Oh, and another thing that I really like to do is do like custom lines across the T's. So if I take my node tool and grab these little pieces here, and then I can click delete here, and it'll delete those nodes. So I just want to make it straight like that. And then I'll do that with this side too. Delete. And then now I can do a little custom cross on the T. Say it like that. It's kind of cool. I like to make it kind of fit in with the text. Like since the P is rounded here, then I go rounded there. So that's kind of fun too. Or you can also just grab your node tool and pull these guys out. Like that. And let's move the E over so it's connected better. And then back to the brush tool. So we could also make this T connect here. And then I always like to do something fun with the Y. So we could maybe take our node tool, oops, and grab these guys and click delete. And then I can just do my own little custom bottom for the Y. So grab my brush tool again, and then maybe like that. Or maybe I just make it bigger. Or another thing I kind of like to do is bring it around. Like that. And again, you know, it doesn't have to be perfect because we can just fix that up later. And we can also just maybe do some little thingies here is kind of cute. So, you know, you can just have fun with it. I mean, you could just kind of sit here and mess around forever, really. It's pretty fun. Just find like a handwritten font and then you can just kind of do your own stuff to it. So this is pretty good for now, I think. And maybe I'll just move these three guys. What the heck is that? Oh, I think that's from when I drew before, and I didn't have a stroke. So I can delete this by just going to the layers palette and clicking delete. And then I'm going to take these guys and I'm going to move them. And then, well, maybe I'll also just do a few here. Okay. And so my next step is going to be to lock the other layers. So I'm going to go to my layers palette. Here's all of the stuff I drew, all of this stuff, and I want to lock the pterodactyl. So I could either select the layers here and then like swipe right, or sometimes it's easier to just use the move tool and then just grab them like this. And then I'm just going to go to my layers palette and click these three dots and click lock. So I'm going to do that so that I can select all of these. And then I want to expand the stroke. So just like how when we did the pterodactyl before, we expanded the stroke to make it into a shape. We want to do that here because this is a line, but we want it to be a shape. So I'm going to go click these three dots and I'm going to do expand stroke. And as you can see, it now has these outlines. And it's not really great, the tracing around, the way that Affinity Designer does it. So with Illustrator, it actually traces a lot better. So just kind of something to keep in mind. That's one of the things that kind of holds me back from going completely Affinity Designer over Adobe Illustrator. So I have these now, and I can now combine it all so that it's all one shape, because we want these to all be together. We don't want the Cricut to cut out these individual strokes. I'm going to make sure that I have everything selected, because right now the only things that are selected are the ones that got converted. So I'm going to reselect everything. And then now I'm going to click the three dots and do add. So now you can see that these are all one shape because there's like a blue line around it. And if we click on the node tool, it's a little bit easier to see. Then you can really see how the nodes just go all the way around. Now we can kind of clean up some of these parts where it's not a very nice and smooth line. So if you look right here, it like goes in right there, which we don't want. So I'm just going to click this node and I'm just going to delete it. And then you can also like move some nodes around if you need to. And click away so you can see the end result. But basically, the easiest way to do it is anytime you see like a little corner here, this little notch, just delete that point. And then, you know, you may have to move some stuff around a little bit after that. And remember, you can always use these little handles here too to kind of manipulate your curve a little bit. It might take a little bit of getting used to using the handles and stuff, but once you learn how to do it, it'll really give you a lot of control over your curves. So now if we look at our layers palette, you'll see that the text is one object which says curves, and we have the shell and the pterodactyl and the black silhouette. So one last thing is I'm going to unlock these by clicking the little lock. If you want the text to be a combined object with the silhouette as well, so that if you're ironing it on, they're going to be cut out right next to each other on the Cricut, like exactly in the orientation you put it, instead of just like kind of randomly on the vinyl. So if you want to do that, then you can just go to your layers palette and you want to select your text layer and then swipe right on the silhouette. And then we're going to click the three dots and click add. And now you can see it's all one piece. So it would get cut out like that on the Cricut so that, you know, you keep that orientation. And then you can just grab the layer, press and hold, and then just move it to the bottom. And now you can see the green and the shell. And then you can just save that out as an SVG, just like we did in the other videos. And now there's a couple other things I want to show you, which is just doing text on a path and then doing text on a shape. So let's go to the layers palette and let's actually undo the combining. And then I'm just going to hide the text there. And now I'm going to create a path that I would want the text to be on. So this is for if you want like some kind of wavy text or something like that. So I'm going to grab the pen tool. And for the pen tool, what you want to do is click and drag. So we're going to create a curve, and it's going to be made up of anchor points, which are the same points that when we, looked at these other ones, see these points right here are the anchor points, and then you have these little handles that you can move around. So anchor points or nodes are the same thing. So these are my nodes or my anchor points, and then I can move these handles around. So you just kind of got to get used to using those because it really helps a lot with your vector artwork. It gives you a lot of control over it. So again, I'm just going to go delete this now, and I'm going to redo it. So we're going to grab the pen tool, and wherever you want to start, you just click and drag, and you're dragging out the handle. So you want to click and drag the handle out however you want the curve to be. So I want the curve to kind of go towards the dinosaur, so I'm going to pull it out that way. And then wherever you want like your next change in the curve, so like the top of the curve I want it to be right here, so I click there and I drag just a little bit. Click and drag, and then maybe I'll make it come out this way a little bit. And then once you're happy with your curve, which by the way, if you want to go back and kind of edit it, click the node tool and you can like move stuff around. And then when we want to put our text on it, all right, let's grab the move tool and make sure it's selected, and then grab the artistic text tool, and then click and drag however big you want the text to be. So again, I just click and drag. So say I want the text to be like that big, and then that's how big it is here. But we can always change it later too. And then I'm gonna click this little keyboard, and I'll write totally cute. But I kind of want more text coming here, so totally cute and I don't know, prehistoric. I don't have anything clever to put on here. Then I'm going to hide my keyboard. Now we can do some edits to our text. So let's go into the little text palette here, and then I'm just going to grab my artistic text tool and double click in here. And one thing you'll find is that with the text that kind of goes outside of the curve, the letters are going to be spaced farther away, and then the text inside the curve is going to be like really close together. So I can double click on this text inside the curve, or just like click and drag, like if I want to grab both of those. And then I'm going to change the tracking, make it a little bit wider. And then the reason why it's going underneath is because that made it too long. So I'm going to go to my node tool, and then I'll just pull this out more, give him more room. All right, and then back to my text tool. I'm going to bring it out a little bit more. There, so that's a little bit better. And then again, if we want to adjust our original path, we can just click on the node tool. And then, we can move this around. You can kind of do whatever you want with it. So now that we've done that, we can go ahead and grab the move tool, and then we're going to convert this to curves so that it's not text anymore. So I'll click the three dots, convert to curves. And if we click our node tool, then we can check. You can actually double click on the individual pieces so that you can see the nodes. Since it's all going to be grouped together, so it's in this group here, that's why it's hard to just like click on the individual ones and pick them, because it's going to pick the whole group. But you can double click just to check. If I want to do actual editing, then I would ungroup them. Then we actually are going to ungroup them so that we can combine them all together and make them into one shape. So let's select this and click here and do ungroup. And now if you look at your layers palette, they're all just separate curves. Let's lock our little dino. Click lock, and then that way we can select all of this. And by the way, if you want to do any embellishments, any like artsy kind of stuff to the text, you can do it now, like drawing in extra stuff. But then the next step after that is going to be add. And now if you look at your layers palette, you can see that it's just all one thing. This is curves, and it's just all these curves. So just like we did with the previous one, you could, if you wanted to, you could unlock the silhouette and you could combine those two together with add so that they cut out in the orientation that we have them here. But I won't do that because we just did it in the last step, so you can always, rewind and watch that again. So now I'm going to hide that, and then I just want to show you one more thing, which is doing the text on a shape. So I'm going to unlock my dinosaur, and I'm just going to grab him and pull him up a bit. Maybe I'll make him a little smaller too. Oh, by the way, put your finger down and then that will constrain your proportions. And what I want to do is do a circle text around it, and then I'm going to have text up here and text underneath. Let's start by grabbing the circle shape and making a circle here. I'm going to grab my art text tool. You want to click outside of the circle, but like close to the edge for the text to be along the edge. And I'm just going to type out totally cute. And then this is going to be the text that's going to be along the top. So then I'm going to press return or enter, and then I'll write the next line, which will be totally prehistoric. And then these little green things and red things are going to be for moving the text around. So the green is where it starts, and then the red is where it ends. So I can move the start and end like that. And also make sure that your text is centered. So mine is, and that'll make sure that it's centered between these guys. And then one thing you can do actually to make it like perfectly centered is move this piece until it kind of snaps, and then the other piece too. And then like that, those are the parts where it's going to be centered between. So it's like basically perfectly centered. And then the ones that are outside of the circle will be a little bit farther apart than the letters inside the circle because they're kind of like smushed together when they're inside. So let's grab this text and go to our text options. And then let's increase the tracking. And then another thing we can do is just to line them up a little better visually around the circle, we can take the bottom text and move the baseline down a bit. And then as you can see, it kind of puts it below where that circle is. So you can just kind of adjust it so that it looks right visually to you. And then let's go ahead and close that, and we actually need to move this because it's overlapping him. And I kind of feel like I do want this to be a little bit skinnier because maybe I want it to go with the curve of the shell. So I'm just going to use my node tool to kind of pull this in right here. So maybe kind of like that. And we can click away, see what it looks like. And maybe I want this to be a little bit bigger too. Once you're done with that, then you can go to the three dots and do convert to curves, just like with the other one. So now if we click on our layers palette, these are all different curves. And then we can make sure the group is selected and then do the three dots and do ungroup. And so now we have all these curves, and then we just want to combine them together so they're one shape. So we do the 3 dots and we do add. So now this is ready to bring into Design Space if you save it out as an SVG. And just like with the other ones, you could combine the text with the silhouette, which I actually would definitely do in this case because I would want these to be, you know, exactly where they are here. So you could combine your text and your black silhouette into one shape using add, just like we did with the other ones. So that's pretty much it. I hope this helped with adding text to your design. Let me know if there's anything else you would like to see as the next video in this series for creating SVGs to bring into Cricut Design Space. What would you like to see that I haven't covered yet? So let me know in the comments if there's anything you'd like to see. And thanks so much for watching. Have a nice day. Bye.